Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Shettima orders speedy disbursement of 250 billion naira loan to smallholder farmers at single digits. Enugu family loses 5 to suspected food poisoning. UK's Prince Harry visits Ukraine with rehabilitation charity. And China says it strongly opposes new round of US sanctions targeting Yemen's Houthis. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Vice President Kashim Shettima has directed the Presidential Food Systems Coordinating Unit to fast-track the disbursement of the federal government's 250 billion naira credit support for smallholder farmers at a single-digit interest rate. He gave the directive during the 6th meeting of the steering committee of the unit held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The Vice President told the members to come up with an implementation roadmap for the disbursement of the funds, saying it was necessary to avoid further delays and ensure that the target beneficiaries of the initiative were reached. He said there was need to sit down with all stakeholders and come up with a robust roadmap that ensures that the funds reach the intended farmers and translate into real productivity gains. Shettima also called for improved collaboration among stakeholders to revitalize the seed sector and expand the strategic grain reserve through the ongoing reform initiative of the federal government. Earlier in her presentation, the coordinator, the Presidential Food Systems Coordinating Unit, Marion Moon, underscored the urgency of protecting Nigeria's fragile food security gains, as over 30 million Nigerians are still food insecure. She said the unit had recorded significant progress in strengthening coordination and collaboration within MDAs across all 3 tiers of government. The Enugu state government recently launched its agricultural initiative to boost food security, empower farmers, and drive economic growth in the state. The initiative includes the distribution of tractors and agriculture inputs, including fertilizer, improved seedlings, and herbicides to registered farmers across the state. Correspondent Ugonne Owalu has been monitoring the distribution exercise.
The flag-off took place at the Michael Okpara Square in Enugu last month, where Governor Peter Mba announced that the program will reach the state's registered farmers. The ministerial rollout includes the distribution of bags of fertilizer, seedlings, agrochemicals, bundle of cassava stems, herbicides, mechanized support such as tilling machines, and additional tractors were also included in the scheme. The inputs are already being distributed to farmers in some local government areas of the state. The supervisor for agriculture in Enugu South local government area, Uche Nwankwo, described the distribution exercise as seamless. He said the initiative is expected to significantly impact local farmers, enhancing their livelihoods and contributing to the region's economic growth.
Almost every other thing is going fine, and it's perfect because it's transparent. Everybody, one after the other, is identified before releasing the input. All the beneficiary is the authentic farmers, so there's no middleman. You have to be there with your phone number, your name, and every other thing. So it's seemingly.
The beneficiaries of the cassava stem and fertilizer distribution exercise expressed gratitude. They also described the process as transparent and free from any financial demand.
For everybody with his own bag of fertilizer and some stem of cassava and this chemical. Very excited, very, very happy. Because as you can see, when I go to market to buy all these things, the thing will cost me a lot of money. But as you can see, all these things, nobody collected penny from me. I will use the money to add on what I'm doing in my farm.
First of all, I have already weeded my farm, but I have lucky to have this cassava stick. I'll have the fertilizer to make my crop grow, to add it to my crop and corn. That my vegetable, I have a land of when I plant ugu and green, I have to add them there.
And the fertilizer that I will go now and use. No, they did not collect any money.
The executive chairman of Enugu South local government area, Caleb Ani, encouraged farmers in the area to utilize the cassava stems and fertilizer they received for their intended agricultural purposes.
Make sure when you get this, you use it for what? The agricultural purpose. Do you understand? Yes, you should imagine what it means when all of us have a farm where we make use of all these very inputs. You should imagine what that means. Yes, we will have a bumper harvest. Yes, that is the target of the state. Yes, that is the target of the local government. Yes, and we cannot compromise that. Yes.
Special Assistant on Political Matters, Chujo Kabo, commended the farmers for participating in the cassava stem distribution exercise, which he said was smooth and successful.
The whole farmers in Enugu South local government, as you can see, a whole lot of them are here. They've been here since morning, taking their own and be going to the houses. You can see some came with some trucks. So, and it's well organized.
Stakeholders say the success of this intervention will be measured in the coming planting season as they look forward to bumper harvest and a strong rural economy. Ugo Norwalo reporting for Signature TV.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Federal University Oye-Ekiti in Ekiti State, has embarked on an indefinite strike over unpaid salaries. The development was formally communicated on Thursday in a letter addressed to the institution's acting Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Olubumi Shitu. The letter, jointly signed by the branch chairman, Dr. O.A. Fabagun, and the financial secretary, Dr. Ungu Benito, stated that the industrial action will remain in force until the affected lecturers receive their outstanding salaries. According to the branch leadership, the move aligns with the directive of the national body of ASU, which resolved that where academic staff salaries are not paid by the third day of a new month, the branch concerned must suspend academic activities until payment is made. Igbo leaders converged at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Awka, Anambra State, to deliver a resounding call for restructuring, advocating for a shift towards true federalism as a panacea for Nigeria's multifaceted challenges. At a public lecture in Awka, the leaders underscored the imperative of redefining the governance framework to promote equity, justice, and inclusive development. Signature TV's Lawrence Wimu was at the event.
The Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Awka, Anambra State, played host to a public lecture with the theme Restructuring for True Federalism, a Challenge to Igbo Leadership. The event brought together prominent stakeholders, including traditional rulers, scholars, and leaders from across the Southeast to discuss the future of Igbo leadership within Nigeria's political framework. President General of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, Senator John Azuta Mbata, who chaired the event, emphasized the need for restructuring to reflect true federalism, enabling the Igbo nation to significantly impact Nigeria's democracy.
The real point is about the man-made trajectory of our federalism that always seems to punish, disadvantage, discriminate against, and relegate the Igbo to the background of Nigerian politics. The Igbo nation has done fairly well in all other areas of Nigerian endeavor. Academics, business, etc., etc. But we have not been able to find our feet in the politics of Nigeria.
Acting Vice Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Karo Arinze Umobi, represented by Professor Harry Obinwosu, highlighted the importance of understanding Igbo culture and values, stating that Igbo-ness lies in the Igbo character and matrix of value.
That had before them been identified as Igbos and accepted that identity began to disown the Igbo identity. Be that as it may, Igbos are the peoples indigenous too, as present day Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, Imo states, as well as some other areas of neighboring states.
The guest lecturer, Professor Obasigwe, stressed that restructuring should focus on nation building, not ethnicity, and advocated for true federalism to address issues like political imbalance and economic marginalization. Traditional ruler of Onitsha, Igwe Nnemeka Achebe, noted that restructuring and true federalism aim to create a system of coordinating and independent federating units to enhance development and empower local communities.
What we should do is go home and think about the message and how we ourselves individually contribute to the way forward for Nigeria and for our community.
Professor Godwin Onu described the annual lecture as a forum for preserving and advancing Igbo knowledge and heritage.
It's founded on a core philosophical commitment to exploring and celebrating Igbo-ness. The event's central mission is to serve as a beacon for scholarly inquiry into the being, history, and global connections of Ndi Igbo.
The lecture, no doubt, provided a good platform for discussing the future of Igbo leadership within Nigeria's political framework, emphasizing the need for restructuring and true federalism to promote development and unity. Lawrence Nwimo, Signature TV News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it has cleared 14 associations to proceed to the next stage of their applications to be registered as political parties in Nigeria. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekun, who disclosed this in Abuja after the Commission's meeting, said that 171 applications were received. He explained that each request was assessed on the basis of its compliance with the provisions of Section 222 of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution as amended, the Electoral Act 2022, and the Commission's Regulations and Guidelines for Political Parties 2022. The associations cleared are the African Transformation Party, All Democratic Alliance, Advanced Nigeria Congress, Abundant Social Party, African Alliance Party, Citizens Democratic Alliance, and the Democratic Leadership Alliance. Others are the Grassroots Initiative Party, Green Future Party, Liberation People's Party, National Democratic Party, National Reform Party, Patriotic People's Alliance, People's Freedom Party. Olumekun invited the interim chairman and secretaries of the pre-qualified associations to a briefing on Wednesday, September 17, 2025 at 11 a.m. at its headquarters in Abuja. He said that in addition to uploading the required information to the portal, it will physically verify all claims by each association in line with the regulations and guidelines, and that the final determination of the eligibility of the associations as political parties would be made after the physical verification of all their claims to determine compliance with the legal framework. He explained that party registration is a continuous process under the law, and that the Commission remains open to the consideration of applications that meet the criteria as provided by law. A non-governmental organization and an advocacy group, Adoji River and Signature Television, have agreed to go into partnership to advance the campaign against sexual and gender-based violence in Enugu State. The two organizations reached the agreement when members of Adoji River visited the Raymond Dobesi corporate headquarters of the Signature TV at Tinker's Corner, Enugu. Correspondent Christopher Lele has the story.
A significant portion of Nigerian women and girls have experienced physical or sexual violence, with one survey showing that 31% of women aged 15 and 49 have experienced physical violence. Adaoji River, a women media advocacy organization dedicated to amplifying grassroots voices and promoting women's empowerment, wants to collaborate with Signature TV to sustain the campaign. This informed the courtesy visit to the Raymond Dokpesi corporate headquarters of the station at Tinker's Corner, Enugu. The executive director, Adaoji River Oyinye Ude, noted that the partnership with Signature TV is to implement a documentary-driven advocacy that humanizes the impact of sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, in Enugu State.
We cannot conduct this documentary without aligning with Signature TV because we need your expertise. We're also partnering on using your cameras, your team, your crew to continue to interview the target people. And who are our targets? We are looking at the survivors. We are looking at the rural women. We'll also be interviewing some sister organizations who are also in this particular campaign of addressing sexual and gender-based violence in Enugu State.
The organization's communication officer, Anoleka Iwoba, said the organization has lined up some activities to mark the celebration of 65 years of the Ford Foundation, who are major sponsors of the organization. She said the group will be organizing a one-day stakeholder dialogue and screening, bringing together policymakers, traditional leaders, gender advocates, and civil society organizations.
With focus on amplifying norms, cultural norms in rural areas that enhance or foster SGBV. And through that program, we've been able to reach not only survivors, but people who are in positions to address the issue, maybe from policies to reshaping the culture or the traditions in their spaces, and to the everyday individual who can make a difference in their own communities or in their own families. So we have, periodic outreaches aligning with women-led unions or groups in these areas that we're, working in, especially in Oji River local government and in Kano East.
The program officer, Lilian Igbokwe, emphasized the intention of bettering the lives of those in the Southeast with the partnership of Signature TV to have a production not just to be aired in Nigeria, but globally.
We are celebrating with Ford, Office of the West Africa, the 65 years of consistent implementation in West Africa and in Nigeria. So in celebrating the ceremony with them, we'll be organizing a one-day stakeholders dialogue and 10 to 15 minutes documentary screening, which involves the life of our survivors in the rural areas, their experiences of the survivors. Also, one will be using it to push for a Women's Speak Justice campaign, which will last for a period of 2 to 3 months, in saying what Ford have actually done in Nigeria for all the 65 years they've been implementing, and also amplifying the voices of women, also using the media, which brings us to Signature TV.
President and Chief Executive Officer of Signature TV, Vin Martin Obiora Ilo, expressed the readiness of the station to partner with the organization to promote women's empowerment and fostering sustainable community development.
It is not difficult for us to partner with you because there's an alignment in your goals and our goals, in your mission and our mission, and your vision of eliminating gender violence is part of what we strive and work towards.
Ilo said the activities of Adaoji River resonate with the philosophy of Signature TV, which is to amplify grassroots voices and promote development agenda of the Southeast.
Our thematic focus is development issues, which is in tandem with some of the things Adaoji River has been involved in. Gender issues, good governance, environment, anti-corruption, free and fair elections. These are the things that concern us because we are here in the people's interest.
It is expected that the strategic collaboration of the two groups will go a long way in giving visibility to the efforts of Adaoji River to drive cultural and policy shifts needed to end sexual and gender-based violence. Christopher Lele, Signature TV.
The Anambra State government is set to kickstart the construction of a new airport in Ndikeleonwu, Orumba North local government area of the state. Speaking during a tour of the proposed site for the project, the Managing Director, Chinua Achebe International Cargo Airport, Martin Nwafo, noted that the visit was to identify a suitable, flyable location where the state government can develop an airport and industrial park associated with Aerotropolis. Nwafo, who is also the chairman of the new Airport and Aerotropolis Committee set up by the state government, emphasized that the project would be a game changer by breaking the economic opportunities in the state that are yet untapped and attracting investment. Spokesman of the community, Fabian Wosu, thanked the state government for citing such projects that would create massive job opportunities in their community, and assured that the people will give maximum support, security, and cooperation needed to kickstart and complete the project. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, says 12 bills before the House are targeted at reducing the country's reliance on oil and diversifying the economy through solid minerals development. Abbas, who was represented by Mark Useni at the public hearing organized by the House Committee on Solid Minerals, said that greater recognition to the solid minerals sector is a strategic shift in Nigeria's economic agenda.
The bills to establish multiple federal institutes of mining and geosciences across various states, Garagu in Nasarawa State, Takum in Taraba State, Ikoro in Ikiti State, Akampa in Cross River State, Gusau in Zamfara State, and Umuai here in Abia State, are a testament to our commitment to building the intellectual and technical capacity required to harness our mineral wealth.
Chairman of the committee, Gaza Gbefwi, said the initiative will reposition solid minerals as a driver of growth, job creation, and industrialization.
If 10% of all what had been generated from oil in River State was being put as a community development association to develop River State, where do you think River State would have been today? So please, we must have a human face to all we're doing. It's not about when you have a situation in a community where only one person is rich and the rest are poor.
Stakeholders, including industry operators and community representatives, supported the bills, stressing that many of the existing laws governing the sector are outdated and urgently need reform.
That you see a lot of activities and influence between the operators in the sector, between the government and the academia. You see centers of excellence being established in some of the universities in many of these mining countries. So instead of having clear-cut institutes in all parts of the geopolitical zone, we have some schools of excellence. Take, for instance, in Jos, where you have the University of Jos. And University of Jos has a department of mining and geology. And you make this research and development and skills acquisition a major input.
Community Development Commission, to me, it's not going to really help the mining sector itself, because it's like putting more obstacles in the path of investment in this sector. The community and the miners' relationship is clearly spelled out in the Minerals and Mining Act that we are operating now.
The bills seek to overhaul the sector by repealing the Nigerian Coal Corporation Act to establish the Nigeria Coal Development Commission, creating a Lithium Development Commission, and setting up a Nigerian Mining Development Bank to support indigenous miners. They also propose establishing Federal Institutes of Mining and Geosciences in 6 states, strengthening funding for mineral exploration through public-private partnerships, and creating a Solid Mineral Communities Development Commission to ensure host communities benefit from mining activities. Still from the Green Chamber, the House Committee on Appropriations has expressed concern over the slow pace of budget implementation. Chairman of the committee, Abubakar Bichi, expressed the concern during a meeting with key officials of the Finance Ministry and other stakeholders.
Basically, members are concerned seriously about that, and Minister of Budget and Minister of Finance also confirmed to us that Nigerians can see a lot of changes and developments for this budget. Exactly. And you know, Nigerians are really concerned about the budget implementations, which is co-mandate to the National Assembly. We have engaged with Minister of Finance and Minister of Budget. Both of them acknowledge that, and they agreed to work so hard so that at least Nigerians can see the progress of the budget today. 2024-2025, it will be done as soon as possible. Before we reach out to 2026, you will see a serious changes between now to the end of the year. They have acknowledged, they have promised to us, and let's see how far we can go.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, reported that implementation of the 2024 budget currently stands at about 80%, with the National Assembly extending its lifespan until December. He explained that priority projects include grassroots infrastructure, such as roads and irrigation.
As is customary, we reviewed the budget performance, looked at 2024. Basically, overall, it's around 80%. And as you know, the budget for 2024 was extended by the National Assembly till December, so it is still running. So it is still a work in progress, it's still ongoing. And likewise, we looked at what is happening in 2025, and we put heads together to ensure that particularly the projects that touch the grassroots, that provide support and provide resources and facilities, the roads, irrigation, other infrastructure projects at the grassroots level are focused on and are given adequate attention and priority. And it's an ongoing discussion, it's an ongoing implementation of the budget faithfully and fully.
Budget and National Planning Minister Abubakar Bagudu stressed the strong working relationship between the executive and legislature and said reforms under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are producing results.
Commended the respect for the National Assembly and the excellent working relationship between the federal government, and they stated that they have supported all the major reform initiatives which have produced the result, including the latest tax reforms. It's an ongoing discussion.
Up ahead, Lagos government bans auxiliary nurses. Benue Assembly raises concern over missing children, urges DSS action. Details of these and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Lagos State government has declared it unlawful for any health facility to train or employ auxiliary nurses, warning that hospitals found engaging in such practices risk outright closure. Permanent Secretary of the Health Facility Monitoring and Accreditation Agency, Dr. Abiola Idowu, issued the warning during a sensitization campaign and town hall meeting held in Alimosho local government headquarters. Idowu, who was by the agency's Director of Research and Statistics, Dr. Olorunfemi Olonire, explained that the ban on auxiliary nurses was introduced because of their activities have caused more harm than good to the healthcare system. She stressed that only qualified and licensed medical professionals are permitted to practice in Lagos State, noting that 32 health facilities were shut by the agency between January and June this year for various infractions. Idowu urged residents to report unlicensed health facilities and quack practitioners to the agency for appropriate enforcement actions, as the state is determined to prevent citizens from being misdiagnosed or handled by unqualified personnel. The family of Pastor Ignatius Ikeze from Neke Akbani Autonomous Community in Isuzo local government area of Enugu State has been plunged into deep mourning following the tragic death of 5 relatives believed to be victims of food poisoning. Speaking to journalists in Enugu, Pastor Ikeze revealed that the deceased were members of his younger brother's immediate family. They include Barnabas Ikeze, his wife Angela, and 3 of their children, Divine, Gift, and Victor Ikeze. Though Pastor Ikeze was away at a conference in Abuja when the incident occurred, he was informed that the tragedy began on the evening of August 29, shortly after the family had dinner. By the following morning, all of them reportedly woke up with severe stomach pains. With no functional healthcare facility in their community or in the wider Neke town, neighbors and relatives rushed the family to Faithland Clinic, located in the neighboring Ikem community, the headquarters of Isuzo local government area. Tragically, one of the children, Divine, died on the way to the hospital, while Gift, the only daughter, passed away shortly after arrival. Their parents, Barnabas and Angela, along with their youngest child, Victor, later died on Sunday night in what has been described as a heartbreaking turn of events. Only the eldest son, Marvelous Ikeze, survived. Pastor Ikeze returned from Abuja on Saturday, August 30, added that the police had arrested a key suspect in connection with the incident and transferred the case to the State Criminal Investigation Department. A nurse who was earlier detained at the Ikem police station was later released. Pastor Ikeze also disclosed that a doctor advised him not to pursue the matter further and to let the deceased rest in peace. However, he insisted that justice must be served. The Enugu State Police Command says the formation of a joint security team to address the recurring farmers-herders clashes in Isuzo local government area is yielding tangible results. The State Police Commissioner, Maman Giwa, disclosed this while briefing the press on his scorecard in the 6 months he has been in office as the 29th Commissioner of Police in the state. Giwa revealed that the command arrested 5,176 suspects for various offenses, recovered 105 firearms and other incriminating exhibits, including the recovery of 16 stolen vehicles traced across Enugu, Nsukka, Anambra, and Rivers states.
Breakdown is as follows. 98 were suspects arrested for armed robbery. 87 for kidnapping. 50 for murder. 16 for lawful possession of firearms and ammunition. 11 for rape or defilement. 122 for cultism and related crimes, while 4,772 suspects were arrested for other offenses such as theft, vandalism, human trafficking, and burglary. A total of 113 abducted or kidnapped victims were successfully rescued. We also recovered 105 firearms, including 8 AK-47 rifles, 1 G3 automatic rifle, 271 rounds of ammunition, and 71 vehicles used in or recovered from various criminal activities. Many other incriminating exhibits were also recovered during the operations.
He said he had been guided by the philosophy that policing should be conducted in a strict, ethical and professional manner, with zero tolerance for extortion and corruption. The police commissioner stated that proactive policing, built on trust, consistency and swift action, as the command's major thrust. He noted that the recently concluded week-long Nigerian Bar Association conference in Enugu recorded a peaceful atmosphere throughout, attributing the success to the command's proactive security measures.
Breakdown is as follows. 98 were suspects arrested for armed robbery. 87 for kidnapping. 50 for murder. 16 for unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. 11 for rape or defilement. 122 for cultism and related crimes, while 4,772 suspects were arrested for other offenses such as theft, vandalism, human trafficking, and burglary. A total of 113 abducted or kidnapped victims were successfully rescued. We also recovered 105 firearms, including 8 AK-47 rifles, 1 G3 automatic rifle, 271 rounds of ammunition, and 71 vehicles used in or recovered from various criminal activities. Many other incriminating exhibits were also recovered during the operations.
The police boss thanked Governor Peter Mbah for his security-focused leadership and commended other law enforcement agencies for their synergy in ensuring maximum security across Enugu State. He also called on traditional rulers, community leaders, and stakeholders to strengthen their cooperation with the command in consolidating the gains of proactive policing. The Benue State House of Assembly has expressed concern over the rising cases of missing children in the state, urging the Commissioner of Police and the Director of the Department of State Services to conduct an immediate investigation into the matter. The call followed a motion moved by Douglas Akia during plenary on Thursday in Makurdi. Akia disclosed that 7 children were abducted in Makurdi earlier this month. According to Akia, the criminal acts have devastating effects on the physical, psychological, and emotional well-being of children and undermine the security and social fabric of the state. Akia noted that despite existing laws and presence of security agencies, the situation continues unabated. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has granted administrative bail to the former Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari. Kyari submitted himself to the anti-graft agency following alleged $7.2 billion fraud during his tenure, which was reportedly meant for maintenance of the country's refineries. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja had earlier ordered the temporary freezing of 4 bank accounts allegedly linked to the former NNPCL boss. Justice Emeka Nwite gave the order following an ex parte motion filed by the EFCC. The Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, is threatening to resume the just suspended strike, alleging that the management of the Dangote refinery had reneged on the resolutions reached. In a statement jointly signed by its president and general secretary, Williams Akpoeha and Afolabi Olawale, NUPENG warned that it might resume the suspended industrial action following a breach of the agreement reached between Dangote Refinery, the federal government, and all truck drivers who are members of the union. It further stated that notwithstanding the resolution reached and signed at the office of the DSS, with 3 on the right of unionization of the workers, truck drivers who were NUPENG PTD members for several years were ordered to remove the union stickers from their trucks on Thursday. The union had suspended its strike on Tuesday, following an agreement with the management of Dangote Refinery to recognize workers' rights to unionize in a deal reached at a closed-door meeting convened by the Department of State Services and attended by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, and representatives of the Nigeria Labour Congress. The Dangote Refinery has reduced its premium motor spirits retail price to 820 naira per litre, with effect from Monday, September 15, 2025, when it is expected to begin the direct petrol distribution initiative. With the new price template released by Dangote Group on its X account, Dangote Refinery's petrol retail price stands at 841 naira from 860 naira per litre in Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, and Ekiti. See, the refinery distributes petrol and diesel to consumers with its 4,000 compressed natural gas trucks at zero logistics cost. In Abuja, Edo, Delta, Rivers, and Kwara State, the retail price is 851 naira, down from 885 naira per litre. This means that Dangote Refinery will deliver its petrol directly to willing consumers in Lagos and the southwest states at a reduced retail price of 19 naira, while in Abuja, North Central, and the South South, it will be a 34 naira reduction. The federal government has scrapped the 5% excise duty on telecommunication services, offering relief to millions of Nigerians who rely on mobile calls and internet data. The announcement was shared by National Orientation Agency in a statement on X, which said the tax introduced during former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration had applied to both voice calls and data services. It sparked criticism from telecom operators and consumer rights advocates, who argued it would further burden citizens already facing rising costs. Speaking on the development, the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Aminu Maida, confirmed that President Bola Tinubu ordered the removal of the levy during discussions on the recently signed Finance Act. Still to come, EU's von der Leyen receives European car industry leaders. Netanyahu signs West Bank settlement expansion plan. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Britain's Prince Harry visited Ukraine on Friday, arriving in Kyiv with a team from his Invictus Games Foundation to detail his charity's plans to help rehabilitate wounded soldiers, the Guardian newspaper reported. Ukraine's railway, Ukrzaliznytsia, published video of Harry getting off a train in Kyiv. It is the second visit Harry, the younger son of Britain's King Charles, has made to Ukraine this year, after he visited a center for wounded military personnel in Lviv in April. Harry served for 10 years in the British Army before setting up the Invictus Games Foundation, a charity which runs an international sporting event for military personnel wounded in action. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, welcomed leaders of European car manufacturers in Brussels on Friday to talk about the future of the industry in Europe. The auto executives are expected to air their complaints about EU CO2 emissions targets, including a 100% reduction by 2035, which they say are no longer feasible. The European Commission yielded in March to pressure from European automakers to give them 3 years rather than 1 to meet CO2 emission targets for new cars and vans. Failure to meet the targets results in fines, which car makers had said will run into billions of euros if 2025 was the target year. Compliance is now based on average emissions over the period 2025 to 2027. China said on Friday that it strongly opposes unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction by the United States when asked about a fresh round of sanctions targeting Yemen's Houthis. The U.S. Treasury Department said on Thursday it was issuing sanctions against 32 individuals and entities, as well as 4 vessels in an effort to disrupt the Houthis' fundraising, smuggling, and attack operations. Among the targets are several China-based companies that Treasury said helps transport military-grade components, as well as other companies that help arrange for dual-use goods to be shipped to the Houthis. The sanctions also target petroleum smugglers and Houthi-linked shipping companies. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Thursday said her government was not looking for a conflict with countries